Good morning, everybody. Good morning. All right. See that big yellow thing in the sky right there? Mother Nature, thank you, thank you. No, it's not my doing. It's not my doing, Mother Nature. You remember 2 years ago we marched in the rain. Do you remember that? And last Veterans Day, we had 8 inches of snow. You remember that? That was the earliest, biggest storm we had on record. All right. None of that this year. Good morning, honored speakers, fellow veterans, sponsors, and veteran service organization guests who are here representing the thousands that typically would be participating in the 15th annual Detroit Veterans Day Parade. I'm Fox 2 meteorologist Rick Schluterman. I'm the MC, and again, we're bringing the sunshine. We have dubbed this veteran celebration the Armed Services Salute, a day when we combine the parade, the 4-star 4-mile race, and Vets Fest to acknowledge all those in service to our nation and to inspire authentic patriotism in our community. But this year, with a public health crisis waging war in our community, we will hold a virtual Armed Services Salute so that our veterans and the public can watch from the comfort of their homes as we honor all of you today. Whether you are a service veteran, active military, community activist, first responder, or in this year of COVID-19, an essential worker, we share the common patriotism of love of country and service to our community. Today's celebration will honor women veterans whom with modest fanfare have been serving America in the armed services throughout history. You will hear some of their stories through the voices of our honored speakers here today. Although this is a closed private event, all of my veteran brothers and sisters are represented here through guests who will march around the park at the conclusion of our opening ceremony. Even a scaled-down version of our celebration could not be possible without the generous support of our presenting sponsors, the International Brotherhood of Electrical Workers, Union Local 58, and the National Electrical Contractors Association. Thank you, IBEW 58 and NECA. And thank you for participating in past parades and those who sent in images of our veteran honor roll, which will run during this broadcast. You make this great Veterans Day celebration and the new tradition that it is. And now, I can't think of a better way to kick off our celebration than with the 338th U.S. Army Reserve Command Band leading us in our national anthem.
Freezing! Boom!
And now please welcome the Metropolitan Detroit Veterans Coalition Sergeant-at-Arms, Joe Salvia, to lead us with the Pledge of Allegiance.
Welcome, everyone. Good morning. Good morning. This is a very important thing we're going to do right now. That's the Pledge of Allegiance to our country. Together, I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. 2.
Water! Boom!
Yep. this time, I'd like to introduce Phil Harrison, who will give us the opening invocation.
Before I get started, there are a couple veterans that aren't here this year. Ed Tuggle and Gary Coates will be spending their first Veterans Day in heaven. I'd also like to have you give your thoughts and prayers to Richard Schaefer, who's got a family emergency, someone who's ailing. Keep him in your thoughts and prayer. And with that, let us pray. Please remove your covers. Heavenly Father, join us today and in all of our days. Guide us through the troubles we will have in the future and the troubles we have passed in the past. Be with us on this glorious day as we welcome home our veterans, pay tribute to those who have served and those who are still serving here and around the world to keep us free, a free nation. Let us remember them going on to the future, remember their families, their friends, their loved ones, their children. It is up to us to carry on their legacy and honor all that they have done for us. Once again, Heavenly Father, please be with us today and in all our days. Protect those who protect us. Thank you for all the wonderful things you have done for us. God bless America. God bless our veterans. Amen.
Color guard. Lower flag. Parade. Rest.
I want to bring up MDVC Chairman Jack Riley, who's going to say a few words, and you may take your seats. Thank you.
Thank you, Rich. Thank you for this glorious day. I am here to do three things over the next 2 minutes. First, I want to thank all of you who are here today under beautiful skies, but also the most trying conditions our community has faced in generations. You are here representing the thousands of veterans who annually march together to honor service to our country and support and fellowship with each other. Thank you for your commitment and your courage. Second, I want to tell you a little bit about who the Metropolitan Detroit Veterans Coalition is. The MDVC inspires patriotism by providing a platform for Americans, veterans, active military, and citizens to serve together in their communities. We believe that veterans have the unique power to inspire patriotism. We believe authentic patriotism binds diverse communities in a common cause under a unified banner. We exist to give veterans a platform to serve their communities. We seek to inspire patriotism through civic and patriotic events and community initiatives, bringing citizens, our children and youth, active military, and veterans together for a common cause. As a coalition of diverse, far-reaching individuals who operate in harmony with communities and other service organizations with the intent to keep the public forever reminded that all veterans fought or served to preserve peace, liberty, and democracy for our country. And finally, and most importantly, I am here to introduce our keynote speaker. Shortly after the 2019 holiday season, our executive board met to develop the theme for this year's Armed Services Salute Veterans Day celebration. We decided to honor women veterans. We took a look around the room full of men and realized this was a topic that we knew very little about. And the first person we called to advise us was our speaker today. We met and she immediately agreed to help design a program of education and outreach to school-age children. Of course, a few weeks later, we were engulfed in a public health crisis. And by midsummer, it became apparent that we were not going to be able to hold a large public celebration and parade in 2020. Today, instead of a culmination of programming honoring women serving our country, it is the kickoff of a year that will lead up to our 2021 Veterans Day Parade, led by our women veterans. We could not have asked for a more accomplished patriot to lead the group than the woman that you are about to meet. Usually the speaker isn't the one that the phone goes off on, right? She began her career in research and speechwriting position with the Supreme Court of the United States. Later, she would serve in the U.S. Senate as senior staff to 3 different U.S. senators. After September 11th, she left the Senate to enlist in the Army, where she served for 15 years, rising to the rank of captain. She became an Apache longbow helicopter gunship pilot and a legislative liaison officer for the United States Army National Guard. Since moving home to Michigan in 2017, she has lived her passion serving as executive director of Fisher House, Michigan. In this role, she and the Fisher House, Michigan Board of Directors are responsible for raising funds and awareness to support Fisher Houses in Michigan. Among her awards and accolades for her service, Governor Snyder named her the 2018 Veteran of the Year through the Governor's Fitness Foundation. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Captain Kate Melcher.
Thank you for that wonderful introduction, and I am so grateful to spend this morning in Detroit. You know, there's a joke that is sometimes told around Christmas time, and it's that if the 3 wise men were 3 wise women, they would have arrived on time, they would have brought practical gifts, they would have helped deliver the baby, cleaned the stable, made a casserole, and there would be world peace. Obviously, there's truth in jest, and we women veterans know that that joke is not about our command of the domestic arts. That joke is about our capability to command. What an honor today it is to be invited to speak about the many capable women that are serving in the United States military. Today, women comprise between 10 and 20% of the uniformed services, depending on the branch. But I should remind you that it was only very recently that we were legally able to serve in all aspects of the military. Women were not legally allowed in combat until 2013. And we were not afforded the opportunity to compete with our military brothers to serve in combat arms MOSs until 2015. All of this was in the last decade, and I do not need to remind this crowd that we've been at war in the Middle East since 9/11, 2001. So if you speak with our Iraq and Afghanistan veteran brethren, they will tell you that women have been in combat much longer than since 2013. They will tell you that women took hostile fire and they closed with and engaged the enemy in direct combat operations. There are too many stories like that to tell you this morning. I just don't have the time. So I encourage you to take note of the following names and to learn more about their stories. Army Sergeant Leanne Hester, Marine Lieutenant Rebecca Turpin, Army Chief Warrant Officer 3, Lori Hill. Each of these women engaged in direct combat operations and were decorated for their service. They earned the Silver Star, the Navy and Marine Corps Commendation Medal with Valor Device, and the Distinguished Flying Cross, respectively. These women are among the latest women to serve in combat lockstep with men, but they're not nearly the first. As a matter of fact, there are stories of women who served in combat all the way back to the American Revolution. I'm certain you're familiar of stories of brave women who brought medical aid to combatant men, or women who romanced the enemy as spies to collect intelligence. But among my favorite stories about women in service is the women who competently and bravely took up arms against the enemy. You might have heard of the legend of Molly Pitcher. It's been said that she brought water to soldiers on the battlefield during the Revolutionary War, and that she later manned artillery when all the male soldiers around her were killed. Molly Pitcher might have been the legendary name to describe any number of women who brought water to the men on the battlefield. But history accurately records that a woman manning the cannons at Monmouth later received a pension in Pennsylvania for her service during the Revolutionary War. To put a finer point on it, the story of Margaret Corbin was captured in Founding Mothers by Cokie Roberts. Margaret Corbin's husband, John, was killed while firing artillery at Fort Washington, New York in 1776. When he fell, she took up his battle station, launched cannon fire against the Redcoats, and was shot 3 times before the British ultimately captured that post. But Margaret Corbin's fight was not nearly over. Because she was wounded in battle, the Continental Congress awarded her half soldier pay, and they offered her an outfit of clothing. Half pay wasn't good enough for Margaret Corbin. She might not have been conscripted, but she fought valiantly as an artillery soldier. Corbin fought for equal pay and won. As a bonus, she also received a ration of whiskey. This is my kind of woman. Corbin now rests in honor at West Point Cemetery, where her monument is marked Captain Molly, Revolutionary Heroine. In each American conflict since then, there are stories of women fighting bravely alongside their military brethren. That it is now legal to do so, that opens the door for our country to properly recognize the valor and heroism of all the women and men on the battlefield throughout history. On beautiful days like today, when we pause to recognize the service of all the military men and women who have fought to make our country what it is today, I challenge you to take an extra moment to learn more about the women that I mentioned this morning, as well as the women on this stage who continue their service long after taking the uniform off. We serve in Fisher House. We serve in Lansing. Female veterans serve in the People's House in Washington, D.C. Women veterans serve, continue to serve, and continue to lead. Thank you so much for inviting me this morning. Happy Veterans Day.
Kate, we even had a helicopter flyover just a few minutes ago. There you go. Very appropriate. Very appropriate. You know, as a proud Air Force veteran myself, it gives... Oh, thank you. That's right, Air Force. There you go. Air Force, all right. It gives me great pride to bring up our 2020 Veteran honor. Please welcome the President of Vietnam Veterans of America, Chapter 9, and an MDVC Executive Board member, my good friend, Paul Palazzolo. Paul.
It's my great honor to introduce Evelyn Kennedy, who's been with us for every single parade, 15 of them. Miss Kennedy is a Vietnam veteran. Miss Kennedy.
Good morning. Good morning, everyone. I would like to thank Metro Detroit Veterans Coalition for selecting me as an honored veteran. To my friend and colleague, Dick Chapman, for the nomination, and to all of you for your encouragement, endorsement, and support. Kudos. It was suggested that I talk about my time in the military. However, I joined the Women's Army Corps Veterans Association, the Women's Army Corps, in 1961 and was honorably discharged in 1963. My basic time in service was very mundane. Went through basic at Fort McClellan, Alabama, on to finance school at Fort Ben Harrison, Indiana, and then on to Fort Hood, Texas. At that time, Fort Hood had one road in and one road out of the post. At Fort Hood, I was assigned to the finance office as a disbursement specialist. Being the only Afro-American female in the office, it was not easy. However, the position I held as a commercial account specialist gave me a career choice for life. I had a chance to work with government contracts, which I enjoyed very much. Although I joined the Army Reserves after my discharge from the regular Army, I really did not appreciate being in service until later, after joining the Women's Army Corps Veterans Association. By the way, the Women's Army Corps Veterans Association, we are the only national female nonprofit organization congressionally chartered in the USA. The ladies of Chapter 67 were mostly World War II. They advised me of my country and my obligation to serve other veterans, especially Afro-American women at the time who were denying their service time. In fact, because it was during the Vietnam era, both men and women were denying their service time. America was not so nice to Vietnam veterans. After I joined the WACM Association Chapter 67, I started volunteering at the John Dingle and enjoyed it immensely, working with veterans, especially the disabled veterans. I would try to get every veteran I know, and I still do, to register with the hospital, even if they think they will not use it. I volunteered at the Veterans Hospital until my health no longer allowed me to stand for long periods of time. I continue to volunteer with the WACVA Chapter 67, with Michigan Veterans Foundation, the DAV Kane Rankin Chapter 1, with Chapter 9 Vietnam Veterans. It is my pleasure to be of service to all veterans. I would like to also thank my colleague Vida Joyner Frost for volunteering military style to become president of Wolverine Chapter 67. She is all charged up and ready to take Chapter 67 into the future. Thank you all so much. Take care, be safe, and God bless. God bless America.
The Metropolitan Detroit Veterans Coalition proudly recognizes a veteran of honor for the 15th Annual Detroit Veterans Day Parade, Evelyn Christine Jones Kennedy. Given this 8th day of November 2020, the Metropolitan Detroit Veterans Coalition Executive Board proudly says thank you for all your service at the VA hospital and all the things you do for veterans. God bless you.
God, it is my honor to serve.
Wow. Real heroes, real heroes. Such an honor. To present our Veteran of Distinction, please welcome a founding member of the MDVC, someone I've known a long time, Dick Chapman. Dick, come on, man.
Which one? Okay. Thanks for being here. I love you all. Even COVID could not stop us. It is my honor to recognize a veteran who, since taking over the Michigan Veterans Affairs Agency, has increased both the quantity and quality of services to Michigan veterans. Can Zanetta Adams come up, please? Veteran of Distinction, the Metropolitan Detroit Veterans Coalition, 15th Annual Veterans Day Parade, November 8th, 2020. Salutes our Veteran of Distinction, Zanetta Adams, JD, given this 8th day of November, 2020, Metropolitan Detroit Veterans Coalition Executive Board.
Wow, that's pretty nice. Well, thank you so much. Good morning. Thank you for honoring me with this award. This is really great to have, and I'm so honored to be celebrating and serving and being able to be honoring all of our veterans in the state of Michigan with these fine women that we are serving with today. I'm especially honored to being able to serve in this administration in such a significant way, and I'm doubly proud to represent women veterans in this role. And that's possible because of another strong and fearless leader, Governor Gretchen Whitmer. So I thank Governor Whitmer for sending the message to veterans, and women veterans especially, that she values having our voices heard and at the table. And I will say, just as Kate referenced, we are continually breaking glass ceilings. You know, as I stepped into this role, I didn't realize that I was the very first female veteran to serve on the cabinet. And that was made possible because of Governor Whitmer. But it wasn't easy getting to this role. I served 8 years between the Army, Army National Guard, and Army Reserves. And I got called up during that little sweet spot where they say, you'll never get called up. It's IRR, right? Anybody know that? Yeah, well, they lied. So I got called up during that time, and while I was preparing to go to Iraq in 2005, I fell from a deuce-and-a-half truck and severely injured my back. I ended up in a wheelchair and was told I may never walk again, and that was devastating for me. I went through a severe depression, suicidal ideations, and I was lost. I did not have people around me who understood, especially women veterans. I mean, we don't identify like everyone else, so it was hard to find those folks. So just as we do, I ended up creating something where we could find women veterans and started a nonprofit for women veterans. And so through that, I was able to help women veterans to find their way, to find their voice, and to make amazing strides in their mental health. But that wasn't enough either. So I went back to law school and decided I wanted to help veterans get their compensation and pension benefits. And if it had not been for that one case, I would have had a 100% success rate. But that was passionate for me because I remember fighting for my benefits. And I understand as a woman veteran who doesn't have people who understand that that can be traumatic. I will say that since I've been in this role since June 2019, I have done things to help identify women veterans within the state. We recently created a position, a Women Veterans and Special Populations Coordinator, who actually happens to be a female veteran, to really reach out and help women veterans within the state. We launched our She is a Veteran campaign, which has had over 1 million hits in the last 6 months since we launched this campaign, to help women veterans identify with other women veterans and come forward and say that I serve too. And if there's anything that I want to leave you with today, it's that we have to change how we view veterans in this state and in this country, because women do serve too. You have to make sure that if you see a female veteran with a man at the VA, that you think, maybe she's the service member, or maybe they serve together. And I'll leave you with this. If you're a female veteran out there, you know a woman veteran, or you're a veteran at all, You can always call us to get connected at the MVAA at our 1-800-MISHVET hotline. Because I want you to know, each and every one of you out here, that I have been on the bottom. I was a PFC when I retired medically from the military, and so I understand the hard work it takes to get yourself up and pull yourself up by the so-called bootstraps. And so I'm here to serve you, and I'm here to help you, and I want you to call me if you need me. So I want to say thank you again for this great honor, and you know where to find me. Thanks.
Such an inspiration. I love that. Back to present is the Grand Marshal of our Veterans March. Back on stage is MDVC Chairman Jack Riley. Come on, Jack.
Thank you again, Rich. Before I introduce our Grand Marshal, there's a few people I'd like to acknowledge that are here today. Many of you came representing various veterans groups from across the state, so I'd like to acknowledge your presence here with us. From the Disabled American Vets Group, Post Commander, Chapter 1, Clara Evans. Clara? Disabled Vets Past Department Commander, Beth Gonzalez. Beth? Michigan Paralyzed Veterans of America President, Michael Harris. Michael? Post Commander, American Legion, Post 32, Dan Newton. Dan? Past President, Vietnam Veterans of America, Chapter 9, Michael Sand. Michael. The First Commander, Department of Michigan, American Legion, representing today, Department Commander Barry Wood, Greg Spite. Greg. And I believe that is it. And so now on to Jeff McAnnon, 396, heads up the motorcycle brigade. And what is a distinction of our parade is it's always led by, in normal times, about 500 to 700 of our brothers on bikes. So thank you very much. And of course, Dick Chapman, who was up earlier, past President of the American Legion. And now to bring up a person that in normal times would be our Grand Marshal and would be leading our parade, but today, since we're having simply a march, she is still our Grand Marshal. And I will tell you that no one in the city of Detroit supports veterans as much as Brenda Jones supports veterans. She heads up the Veterans Task Force. She works with us every month on not only civic events like this, but serious, important issues that veterans are facing throughout the city. So it is my great pleasure to introduce our Grand Marshal for today's march, Brenda Jones, President of City Council.
Good morning to all of our veterans, military, and families, both near and far. Greetings to those of you who are here, and greetings to those who are watching virtually from the comfort of your own home. Again, I am your Detroit City Council President, Brenda Jones. And I am honored, and truly honored, to serve as Grand Marshal. Little did I know when I was asked to serve as Grand Marshal this year that I would be right in the middle of celebrating, honoring, and grieving and mourning the loss of my uncle, who served and received an honorable discharge from the Korean War. He made his transition from this earthly life on Wednesday, of last week. I want to just say thank you, Metropolitan Detroit Veterans Coalition, for moving forward in this moment of time and not allowing COVID-19 pandemic to keep us from saluting our armed services. This year parade marks the 15th year in Detroit, and we are honoring our beloved female veterans, especially the more than 46,000 who are right here in the state of Michigan. I offer a special thank you to all our women who have been serving in the armed forces in a variety of capacities long before women were even allowed to officially wear the uniform. In 2019, Governor Whitmer declared June 12th as Women's Veterans Recognition Day. I fully, and let me say again, I fully support her proclamation, and I want the city of Detroit to also have it on record, on file, that this city is in full support. So I will be drafting a Detroit City Council resolution in support of June 12th being the day to recognize our women veterans. I serve as chair of the Military and Veterans Task Force, and for over 10 years, I've been holding monthly meetings to give veterans an opportunity to come together, share resources, and discuss ongoing veterans and benefits and events that affect our veterans. Through this meeting, it was acknowledged that Detroit was not a Purple Heart city. So in 2015, I wrote a testimonial resolution that garnered support of the Mayor Duggan, the mayor of the city of Detroit, to be recognized and hosted as a Purple Heart city. We had our Purple Heart flag down at the City County building, and we truly celebrated. In 2016, Detroit welcomed the USS Detroit LCS-7 that docked at the Renaissance Center. It was the first to dock in Detroit since 1813. I worked with members of the USS Detroit Commissioning Committee to arrange for members of the cruise ship to attend a Detroit City Council formal session where they were all honored with Spirit of Detroit awards. Know that I am committed to supporting housing for our well-deserved veterans. In September of this year, I sponsored a resolution that enhances enforcement and oversight in veterans' homes. The Detroit City Council urges the Government Accountability Office to conduct a more detailed examination of the VA's oversight of state veterans' homes' quality of care. We also advocate the reporting of any progress in implementing the recommendations from the Government Accountability Office July 2019 report. Copies of the resolution were transmitted to the Michigan delegation of the United States Congress, Senate, and members of the Senate Veterans Affairs Committee. So in closing, I want you to know that I've been working diligently with the City of Detroit Planning and Development Department, members of the Military and Veterans Task Force, and the Michigan Fisher House staff to ensure that Detroit will have its own Fisher House. This will be a home away from home where military and veterans families can stay at no cost with a loved one who is receiving treatment at John Dingell's VA hospital. Know that I will continue supporting and honoring our military and veterans to safeguard their quality of life and to show our appreciation for their service to our country. Where would we be without our military? Thank you again to all our military and to all our veterans. Remember, everyone, stay safe, wear that mask, and let's help save each other's life. God bless you, your family, our great city of Detroit, and the United States of America. I love each and every one of you. God bless you.
One last thing, our MC, Rich Luderman, has been doing this for over 6 years, and he is a proud veteran as well. So let's hear it for Rich.
Air Force, that's right, Dick. Thank you for having me, Jack. Thank you for having me. Go Navy back there, Willie. Army first. Army first. Brenda, thank you. Thank you for being here. Each year we are honored to have the participation of many active military units participate in our Veterans Day celebration. After all, active military are the veterans of tomorrow. Delivering our active military address for 2020, I am proud to introduce the Chief of Staff at the U.S. Army Tank Automotive Armaments Command, TACOM in Warren, who I got to speak to just a few minutes ago, Colonel Santi Vasquez. Colonel Vasquez.
All right, I'm always too short for these things. Sorry about that. Hey, good morning, everybody. It is truly an honor and a pleasure to be here, and I just want to say thank you. I am humbled by the company that I am in this morning. Thank you for the warm welcome and inviting me to participate in today's Metro Detroit Armed Services Salute. It's truly an honor and a privilege to be here today in behalf of our nation's veterans, all the women, men who are currently serving, who have served our country in uniform, and just overall defense of our country. I am here as a proud member of the armed services, but in this regard, I know that I'm standing on the shoulders of others that have come before me and made it possible for me to be here today, particularly the women that we honor. Currently, there are more than 1 million active duty members throughout our services and more than 750,000 reserve duty members in our United States in the United States. And I thank them for each their hard work and their dedication to their respective missions and their service to the nation and the families that support them. All of us have different reasons for serving or having served. And I may be a bit biased when I say this, but this nation is great. And what makes it great is our people and their willingness to serve and serve a larger purpose than themselves. We have veterans, men and women from every corner, every town, every city in this country who have fought for the liberties, freedoms, and opportunities that we all share as Americans. However, on this Veterans Day, I'd like to be a little and serve and focus on female veterans, the women who have opened the door for soldiers like myself and those who are going to serve us in the future. Women have served valiantly, as we've heard this morning, in America's wars, conflicts throughout history. And although we were not formally under military command until the early part of the 20th century, we have served in many capacities, whether it be in the American Revolution, from working to produce goods and services, to serving as our newly formed country as spies. Without the support of the women, our fledgling American services may not have prevailed. For it is true, later in the Civil War, women did serve in uniform, albeit not openly, but as disguised as men. We don't truly know how many women have served the U.S. forces in this way, but some have put the high count at over 1,000. In World War I, women enlisted as the Navy as yeomen in a controversial move by the Secretary of the Navy that later opened the doors for women in other roles to include serving in the Army as well. Most of us are more familiar with the part played by women in defeating our nation's enemies in World War II. Women served in uniform as WAVES, WACs, and WASPs, acronyms for Women Accepted for Volunteer Emergency Service, Women's Army Auxiliary Corps, and women Air Force service pilots. Women wishing to serve in their country in military service have come a long way from those Civil War days when they had to hide our gender. Soon after World War II, women were no longer relegated to unique service units. They were incorporated into all ranks and branches with the Women's Armed Service Integration Act signed by President Truman in 1948. And now we see women daring to dream, reaching goals, shattering ceilings, and I will say proudly, never quitting. We now approximately make up 20% of the Air Force, 19% of the Navy, 15% of the Army, and almost 9% of the Marine Corps. Our percentages are growing, and so are the roles that we play in all of the services today in serving our country. In 1974, a young female lieutenant became the first designated female naval aviator. Just a few decades later, in 2014, the Navy announced their first 4-star female admiral. In 2015, 3 women successfully completed Army Ranger School. One of those women later became the first female infantry officer in the American history. And not long ago, a female Air Force general became the first female service member in U.S. history to lead a unified combatant command. There are many stories like these, especially over the past few years. However, if we fast forward to 2020, times have changed greatly. It's an honor to see women serving in many roles. Not just the medical corps, but now doctors, surgeons. They still serve as pilots, as they did in WASPs in World War II. However, they now fly AH-64 Apache helicopters in addition to cargo transport aircraft. Today, women serve in command positions and support roles throughout all services, and they are all ordinary people that are doing extraordinary things. As a female officer, my experience in the military has been exceptional. I'm proud to be part of that group that continues to value equality, diversity, inclusion, and strive for equality for all as I serve my country. Personally, I follow in the footsteps of my family, both as my father and sister have served, and I used it initially as a means to pay for my college education. But honestly, what's kept me here for the last 23 years is the experiences, the camaraderie, the friendships made, and the honor of serving a larger purpose that drives me to continue, hopefully opening the door for fellow veterans and females alike. The ranks of women veterans in the United States are growing. Today, we have many of the same opportunities previously afforded only to men, and we share the same risks regardless of gender. In past decades of war, we have seen that as a nation and as a military service, we work best when we harness all collective tasks, skills, and abilities of all person, regardless of gender. My sincere thanks and appreciation to all veterans, men and women, who have stepped up to serve their country by serving in the military. May we take a special moment to honor those wounded veterans that are never forgotten, our fallen comrades, and those that we still have not accounted for. America will never forget their and their family sacrifices. I thank you again for the privilege of participating in this Veterans Day event. What a glorious day. And I just want to say, may God bless Detroit, our veterans, and the United States of America. Thank you all, and happy Veterans Day.
Colonel Vasquez, thank you, thank you. One thing we missed, but we don't want to forget, we're going to bring Debbie Dingle up in just a second, but first, Kate Melcher, can you come back? We have flowers for you, so we forgot the flowers. And also, while you're coming up, how about the color guard over there? They're standing out there. Thank you, thank you. You look great.
Well, I didn't know what to get you. I'm not the greatest guy with a computer, so I went online and I got government food, surplus cheese, cupcakes. So I called my granddaughter, and she said, "Grandpa," she says, "girls like flowers. Give her flowers." Oh God! I said, "You could have saved my 5 marriages." So I don't know if you all realize the number of things that this woman does, but just to raise the money for the Fisher House and the one from Detroit is just an unreal thing to do. I've been there trying to raise money, and this woman has got it done. God bless you.
Supporting veterans is in our next speaker's blood. in this year of celebrating women's service to our nation, I can't think of a better representative of all women serving in government that support our veterans than Debbie Dingell. Please show your appreciation. United States Representative from Michigan's 12th District, the Honorable Debbie Dingell.
Okay, I keep my mask on. I mask up because it's real. We had 6,000 cases yesterday, and I don't want anyone here to get sick. I want to, Rich, thank you. You're always here every year. I love Jack, Paul, and Dick. You're the glue that has kept this going for 15 years. The veterans, no matter what, know you are going to bring everybody together to celebrate the men and women that have served and loved the United States of America. To Kate, congratulations. I've worked with Kate from the beginning on the Fisher House. I've been the champion in the House, and someday I'll tell you that story. But Evelyn, you're here every year. It's an honor for you to see you, Zanetta, Brenda. I mean, I'm with all the girls, and Colonel Vasquez, your comments were great. And Kate and Colonel Vasquez really gave you sort of the history of women, so I don't want to repeat it. But you know, as I listen to it, women have, you know, we only got the vote 100 years ago, but we've been working hard. The Rosies were also, while not officially in the military, we wouldn't have won World War II without the Rosies. So we have to remember the Rosies. And you have to, I think of my college mate who was in the Vietnam War who was a nurse in Vietnam that didn't come home. And Holly Magoo, who was from Taylor, Michigan, who was the first woman killed in combat in Iraq on a roadside bomb, whose parents I got to know. We have had a lot of incredible women, and their history is long, so to be able to be here, and Brenda, your comments were wonderful too. So I want to, of course, I've lost the comments I wrote, so I'm just going to go from my heart. You know, I want to salute all of the branches of service, and as we do Veterans Day, why it's a day to honor the women, it's a day to honor the men and the women. You know, John answered the call for World War II, and there are very few of that generation left, and they never thought about it. They just went. Korea, Vietnam, Iraq, Afghanistan, democracy around the world. There was never a question asked. You went and you fought for our freedom. And our freedom is something that we can never take for granted. And you all, I can't, from the bottom of my heart, I say thank you for knowing how lucky we are to be Americans, and that we can never take being American for granted, and the freedom of speech, the freedom of religion, freedom of the press, due process that we all have are fundamental things that you fought for and still care about. And you've come home. We've got more than 2 million veterans, families that we need to take care of, that we must make sure that they're okay. From health care, we've got a problem right now that too many people are homeless, too many veterans are homeless, and COVID is devastating many of them. They're lonely. Too many Americans, period, are feeling disconnected. They're sad. Veterans are paying an even higher price. And on this Veterans Day, or Veterans Week, but we're doing Sunday, I want to encourage anybody that's listening, hopefully some are watching this virtually. Yep, we need to call people and thank them for their service, but you know what? Sometimes that's just trite. We need to thank them for loving our country, for being willing to go and serve, and ask them if there's something we can do for them. And ask them if they're okay. To touch them, to human connect, to be kind, and let them know they're appreciated. You know, we're at a point in our country, I'm sorry, I will never forget. I went to Normandy with Joe Biden. I want you to know that. And I went to the cemeteries with Joe Biden. I walked the beach with my husband. We can never be disrespectful or say things like those that were said about our veterans. And it is time for Americans to pull together, to put the animosity, the disdain that we've had, and pull together as Americans, period. So I love you all. You are, I'm going to be, I was going to try not to do this. I miss John a lot. And last night, I just sat in bed and cried. And I'm with all of you, and I needed you today. God sent me to you all today. So you're here. You're his spirit of what it means to appreciate to be an American and to make sure none of us are alone. He sent this son to us all today. You know, he's up there. He isn't any other place. But we got to just be here for each other. On Veterans Day, we have to salute the men and the women that have served this country so honorably. But we got a lot of responsibility. We got a lot of responsibility to be there for each other and to never forget what it does mean to be American. To stop this fear and this anger and this hatred and the pitting of each other against each other. We are not red or blue. We are Americans. And God bless America.
Thank you, Congresswoman Dengel. I missed a couple people in my earlier acknowledgments, and I don't want to let that happen today of all days. So, first of all, I'd like to acknowledge Post Commander of VFW 6691, Gina Gordon. Gina? And then a group that has been marching with us for years, and they're represented today by two of their vets, from South Vietnamese vets, Zindam and Shay Nijin. Thank you, guys.
As we celebrate authentic patriotism, the kind that holds love of country and service to our community as core values, it is important that we acknowledge our first responders and essential workers who have been the real heroes of this year of tragedy across our country and in our communities. With us today, representing our local hero, is Neighborhood Police Officer Dan Robinson. Dan Robinson. He's a big guy.
First off, I'd like to say thanks for having me here. Thanks for having me here. It's definitely an honor to be amongst all of you. And hello. I love seeing our council president, the Honorable Brenda Jones, around. She supports us in so much that we do. My name is Neighborhood Police Officer Dan Robinson. I've been with the police department for about 25 years. And before that, I was in the Army. So, my grandfather, he served in World War II, and I like to think that I, followed in his footsteps. So I think that service was something that was kind of instilled in me from some of those times. Being here, being on the police department, I had an opportunity, or I still continue to have opportunities to support all our veterans. I still say, hey, I'm all about veterans all the time. And through the department, at the 11th Precinct, we do several things for our veterans. Just about 20 years ago, our former, at that time, he was Deputy Chief Logan, we started this luncheon where we had all the veterans that were assigned. We had a wall and we put the service and put the names of the veterans on the wall. We will have a luncheon, and that thing grew every year because, as you all know, we have a lot of veterans that serve as first responders as well. Come home and, you know, we definitely, the department, fire department, everybody loves to have our veterans to come back to help lead the community. And so that thing grew, it grew. Then we end up doing parades, up 8 Mile, up Van Dyke, Outer Drive, and we would have hundreds of people participating. We would have people lined up 8 Mile, lined up Van Dyke, and we would have Tuskegee Airmen flying overboard. We also definitely had support from people like, of course, Jack Riley and Mr. Ed Tuggle and Mr. Tyrone Chapman of Michigan Veterans Foundation, who those two we definitely miss, and several other groups that would support us with everything we do. One thing about the department as well, because the Chief Craig, he definitely supports veterans. He gives us opportunities to do things to make sure that we bring veterans in. The department partnered with the Army with a recruiting effort to have veterans come right into the department so that when they're getting out of our military, when they're leaving the Army, they already have a job waiting with the police department. And that brings me to somebody, I know we're talking about women, but Sergeant Star Gonzalez, she's kind of heading that up. She's one of our recruiters with the department, and she was Air Corps, she was Air Force. I like to tease her, call her Army Air Corps. So, you know, I have a partner as well in my office, Marsha Williams. She was Air Force as well. We kind of go at it, as you guys know. But just in the spirit of love and everything, it's just an honor. I normally don't do speeches or anything like that, but just want to always know that I'm here to support, that the department is here to support in every way that we can all our veterans. And we look forward to doing things to support our veterans from, like I said, the parades. We would have even, you know, efforts where we would help out veterans that's in need with whether it's food or whether it's, you know, clothing. Our homeless veterans, make sure that we try and find resources or connect them to people that have resources and information and things like that. And we will also, every couple years, we started in 2016, having our Armed Forces First Responders Heroes Ball, where we would, you know, come together, the department would come together with all our first responders as well as our military brothers and sisters, and we would have a big ball just to celebrate each other. We couldn't do it this year because of COVID, but, you know, we still, you know, we'll pick it up again next year or whenever. But I got to get out of here because I have to go. One of our big supporters, Major Sims, Karen Sims of Michigan National Guard, she's actually being promoted today to Lieutenant Colonel. And so when I leave here, I'm going to run there and support her. But I did want to say, on behalf of the Detroit Police Department, Chief James Craig, all of us, we here salute all our veterans, and we appreciate you for all you've done for us and for the country.
That's a big guy. I got to bring it back down here. Dan Robinson, thank you. Thank you. As I said at the top of our program, we could not have our Veterans Event each year if we were not for loyal sponsors. So here now to introduce our longstanding presenting sponsors from the MDVC Executive Board and a proud member of IBEW Local 58. Please welcome Pat Stover. Pat Stover.
Not a lot of words, just some big words, important words. Somebody said we have the best words, and I think he's right. Nowhere else in the world does any constitution say the pursuit of happiness. If there's something to pledge allegiance to and something to get behind, I hope you all don't waste the privilege of your pursuit of happiness and put it to good use. With that, Local 58 sponsorship sent out a guy to speak on us who looks a little bit better than me and is a little bit more more dialed into the mic. Rick Cruz.
Hey, thanks, Pat. Me and Pat used to work together. We were building the Coker, I think, down in Southwest Detroit. So thanks, Pat. I always appreciate your friendship and the brotherhood. So on this beautiful autumn day in Corktown, man, it's been a real blessing, and thanks, Rich, for bringing the sun. Service and sacrifice, that's why we're here today, to honor our veterans. We want to recognize our women veterans. Kate, oh my goodness, thank you for your words. Our veterans, Evelyn, thank you so much for your words as well. Zanetta, thank you for your service and your sacrifice. My Lord, we're in front of, some real giants, and I'm really honored to speak before you today. Corktown is our oldest neighborhood in Detroit. It's really symbolic, and it's by no accident that we're here, and we're right here, and we have the Michigan Depot behind us, the train station affectionately known as. It is really fitting that as the city of Detroit is being reborn and rebirthed, that we have all this opportunity going on in the city of Detroit. And I want to thank Madam President Brenda Jones, that sits on the Skilled Trade Task Force, that has been always a big advocate, a huge advocate for trying to make sure that we invest in our people. So thank you so much, Council President Brenda Jones, for always being our partner in advocating for more people into the skilled trades. But just think about this. As we're rebuilding the train station that was built in 1913, it was the center of mobility back then. And again, over 100 years later, again, it's going to be the center of mobility with electric vehicles, with autonomous cars, all the green technology that's going to be right here, focused. And as everybody remembers, just a few blocks away, we had our celebration last year at our Zero Net Energy Center at the IBEW. So I just want to make sure people realize that there's a lot of great things happening here, and it's by no accident that we're right here, right in the middle of it. Our troops used to walk these streets as they're going off to military service. They came to the train station and they went off. We're in those same footsteps as those military veterans that fought the war. We're rebuilding it. And with your help, we're going to build it even better. So thank you so much for your service, all of our veterans. We have, I think, it's really, we couldn't have picked a better day. I'm just looking out here. Last year it was a little cold. We had a lot more people, but the pandemic is not going to stop us this year. We're going to make sure that we still celebrate and honor our veterans. I also want to, recognize two other women today as well, if I may. We have, I think, labor and management getting together. The IBEW NECA is our National Electrical Contractors Association. So labor and management getting together and doing something good together. It just doesn't happen on its own. So I want to recognize Jennifer Medford for all of your work and all of your efforts behind the scenes. Thank you so much. You guys don't realize trying to get two parties to get together, to work together, it's not that easy all the time, so thank you. And I also want to recognize my wife, for who I would not be here at all, so thank you for allowing me to volunteer and being part of this celebration today, and all of the volunteer efforts that you allow me to be a part of, so thank you to my wife. We have an opportunity, right? There's so many things that have been spoken that I'm not going to repeat, but thank you for all the words, all of our wonderful speakers on all the great things that have been said. But we definitely have an opportunity here to invest in our people. The brick and mortar that we see behind us being rebuilt to its original glory, we have an opportunity to build the workforce and to invest in our people, invest in our veterans. Jennifer had told me that we have countless amounts of veterans in our ranks and file, but nevertheless we have 42 new apprentices that are veterans. 42. So we just brought in 42 new apprentices. How awesome is that? If there's a way to grow that and to, that would be awesome if that you can find 4 more today, that'd be even great. You know, get it up to 46. That would be, I think, a real fitting number to have for today's celebration. And, you know, veterans, it's just a natural fit. They're natural leaders. And I think that's why we're so much involved in trying to make sure that we've identified, you know, veterans to come into the skilled trades because they're natural leaders. And they know how to follow orders. That's not always something that we know how to do. So thank you for the leadership that we have. And thank you, Pat, for always stepping up for all the different events that we have going on in our local union. I just want to leave you with a final thought and just, you know, take these words to heart and maybe even a challenge. Don't let Veterans Day just be a celebration one day of the year. You know, help us in the IBEW and our National Electrical Contractors Association find more talent. There's so many good things that are going on. Help us to grow and organically grow the amount of veterans in our ranks and files and to build this city back. So thank you. Thank you, everyone. God bless, and have a wonderful Veterans Day.
So I have saved perhaps my most important acknowledgement for the end, and that is the commander of our Jewish war veterans, who, by the way, is also a World War II veteran, Art Fishman. Please say hello to Art.
Go Navy, Art, go Navy. Charlie Mers, where's Charlie Mers? Charlie Mers, he designed the Vietnam Veterans Memorial in Lansing 30 years ago. 30 years ago, Charlie Mers. Thank you, brother. Thank you, brother. You know, Blue Cross Blue Shield has supported Veteran Day activities over the years and has a strong veterans network throughout the company. Please welcome Bill Plies, Vice President of Strategy and Executive Sponsor of the Blue Cross Blue Shield Veteran Employee Network. All right, Bill.
Well, thank you for the introduction, Rich, and thank you to everyone joining us today, both here and virtually. I am literally just thrilled to share the stage with so many accomplished individuals, and I think it reflects the meaningful strides that Blue Cross has made to become a more veteran-friendly employer and to form tighter bonds with our local veteran community. At Blue Cross, I serve as the executive sponsor for our Veterans Resource Network, and we created the network for 2 reasons. One was to build a community for our veterans, their families, and their friends. And the second was to create sort of like a go-to resource for the company for anything military or veteran related. I'm also a veteran myself, and when I think about the theme of today's event, celebrating our women service members, I'll admit it tugs at me in different ways, and I'm going to share a story. It's a little bit more somber, but I hope you don't think about the story as much as the lessons that I learned. So my career began at the Air Force Academy. My military career began at the Air Force Academy. And I joined with this almost naive belief that everyone was going to be treated equal regardless of their race, their ethnicity, their upbringing, or their gender. I was a little too optimistic. Nearly every female cadet I knew suffered some form of harassment, and each of their stories was alarming. Now, I don't say that to bash on the academy. I cherish my time there. I cherish my time in the military. In fact, sometimes I think the military is a microcosm of what's happening more broadly in our society. But it did teach me that some people are not always treated equally, especially our women and our minorities. You know, maybe on a more positive note, though, too, it also taught me to respect the diversity among us, the choices that people make, the unique experiences they have. Those things make us different, but those differences matter and they can be celebrated. In the case of our women service members, a lot of them have had to push through more to break the glass ceiling and then sometimes walk across that glass to accomplish the same as their male counterparts. Since my time at the Academy, I've had the opportunity to work with many female or women veterans, both in and out of the military. And all of those experiences reaffirmed some of those earlier lessons. And over time, they kind of taught me some new ones too. Things like humility, patience, tenacity, maybe most importantly, fighting through adversity and always trying to raise the bar. I'd love to tell you even more stories, but it's those lessons that make me feel so grateful for the chance to stand up here and talk to you today. And what I'd like to do now is just thank or congratulate the 2 women that we're honoring today and all of our women service members. I appreciate what you guys have done. I hope that as the nation prepares to celebrate another Veterans Day, all of you will do the same as well. Thank you so much for the opportunity, and God bless.
I'll leave you with a couple of words. It's just 2 sentences, but it really resonates with what we're going through in our country. I think you'll recognize this speech, but I'll tell you who it is at the end. With malice toward none, with charity for all, in the firmness in the right as God gives us to see the right, let us strive on to finish the work we are in, to bind up the nation's wounds, to care for him who shall have borne the battle, and for his widow and his orphan, to do all which may achieve and cherish a just and lasting peace among ourselves and with all nations. That was Abraham Lincoln 41 days before he was assassinated. So powerful words then. I think they resonate to this day. All right, Joe Salvia, come on up. We're going to honor the flag. We're going to wrap this thing up. Come on, Joe.
Good afternoon, everyone. Huron Valley American Veterans AMVETS Post 2006 from Milford, Michigan. Standing. Longer than we thought that we'd stand. We're going to perform the flag ceremony. We are not going to open the flag and refold it because of time. So I'd ask you all please to rise at this time. Be sure to salute when you hear the playing of taps.
And hush. Raise colors. Freeze it. Ho!
Several years ago, I had the very distinct pleasure of seeing the Rosies performing in another parade somewhere around town, and I had the thought that these ladies ought to be in our parade. I tossed out an invitation to Allison Beatty. They jumped on the chance. They've been in the parade ever since. They've become an integral part of the parade. And I'm going to jump on something else before I have my prepared remarks here. Paul Palazzolo, I beat you by a long time. I came through this train station as a 6-month-old baby in June of 1941, 6 months before World War II began. Now, 6 months later, World War II began. During that time, millions of women stayed home and worked in the factories. They stayed away from home, worked in the factories to produce the armaments, the planes, the guns, to support the war effort. Many of them were here in Detroit, which became known as the Arsenal of Democracy. Many of these women heroes helped to the Allied victory. These ladies are affectionately known as the Rosie the Riveters. Our local drill team has marched in the Veterans Day Parade for a number of years now, and they're here today under the direction of Allison Beatty and will perform a special wreath ceremony. Allison?
Before World War II, most jobs in America were closed to women. But during World War II, many American men went off to help fight for freedom and democracy. So who ran the family businesses? Who managed the farms? Who worked in the factories?
Well, we did. Historian and author Bailey Sissoy Isbro tells us that no industry was more greatly affected by this change than aviation and aircraft production, particularly at facilities like Michigan's influential Willow Run plant.
Before our country entered World War II in 1941, women made up only 1% of the aircraft industry's workforce. By 1943, we made up a whopping 35% of the aircraft industry's workforce.
Speaking of Willow Run, did you know that we had a whole mile's worth of assembly line? That's right. 2 half-mile-long assembly lines operating side by side in our 5 million square foot factory.
At that time, the U.S. government didn't think planes could even be built on an assembly line. They thought it would be great if we could just build one bomber a day.
1 airplane per day? We were able to build 1 airplane every hour. Yep, every 52 minutes, a finished Liberator B-24 bomber would roll off one of our 2 assembly lines.
Back row ready. 1, 2. Front row ready. 1, 2.
In multiple shifts, 42,000 people worked at the Willow Run bomber plant each day, most of whom were women. That's how we got our nickname, Rosie the Riveter.
Detroit and our Rosies played pivotal roles in helping end and win World War II. But we weren't the only women charting new territory. Women stepped up and entered the U.S. military in unprecedented roles and numbers during World War II.
Nearly 350,000 American women served in uniform, both stateside and abroad during World War II. We signed up as WACs in the Women's Army Auxiliary Corps, Waves in the Navy Women's Reserve, Sparks in the the Coast Guard Women's Reserve, WASP in the Women's Air Force Service Pilots, and the Marine Corps Women's Reserve, the Army Nurses Corps, and the Navy Nurses Corps.
But this wasn't the first time we stepped up to aid the country during wartime. More than 35,000 women in the military during World War I. In fact, women have been serving the defense of America stretching back to the American Revolution. Today, women serve in every branch of the U.S. military.
Thank you, women, veterans, and Rosies, for having the courage to step up and take on new roles and responsibilities when we needed your help.
And thank you for paving the way for the generations of women who have followed you into every field of education and work. We salute you. 1, 2, ready, go! All
Day long, whether rain or shine, she's a part of the assembly line. She's making history, working for victory. Rosie, the Riveter.
Good job, Rosies. One of the treats of our gathering here today is to listen to our singer, Miss Nikita Bretz, who just keeps getting better. To finish our program with the singing of God Bless America, please welcome Miss Nikita Bretz. Come on, Nikita. She's going to take my position at Fox 2, man. I mean, she's really good.
God bless America, land that I love. Stand beside her and guide her through the night with the light from above, from the mountains Thank you for your service, and God bless the United States of America.
Nikita, outstanding. We got something for you. Come on, Paul. Come on up here. Nikita, great job, young lady. Great job.
I often wondered why I fought in Vietnam, and sometimes I have to reallocate myself to say this is the reason why we fight. This democracy is a heavy world, and when we have children come up here and sing and show respect for our country, well, it doesn't take any more than that. Thank you, Nikita.
This will conclude our ceremony. I give your attention as the color guard is dismissed. Color guard commander, move to the starting point.
Color guard, right, east. Route step, march.
And salute.
Morning, everyone. In 1919, the 11th hour, the 11th day, the 11th month, saw the end of World War I. And later, the official signing of the Treaty of Versailles ended those hostilities. On the first anniversary of the signing of that armistice between the belligerents of the war, President Woodrow Wilson proclaimed that to us in America, reflections of Armistice Day would be filled with the solemn pride of the heroism of those who gave their lives in service to our country. And with gratitude for the victory, both because of the thing for which it freed us from and for the opportunity it gave America to show sympathy for peace and justice in its councils of the nation. With those words, Armistice Day was born. It's a day that's celebrated all around the world, throughout Europe, and known as Remembrance Day, Anzac Day in Australia, New Zealand, but for all, a day to remember the greatness and the great sorrow of that great war. 35 years later, President Dwight D. Eisenhower made it a day of celebration for servicemen of the United States who fought in any war, and he proclaimed that day to be Veterans Day. The veterans of World War I are no longer with us, but through the 101 years since President Wilson's proclamation, many thousands of us have served our country valiantly. We've stood in the halls of our great buildings, on the streets of our cities and towns, selling our poppies in remembrance of those who gave their lives in that war and for the promise of peace, and marching on those streets in celebration of veterans and this day. We stand here today celebrating our veterans, not just here, but all over the world. The United States veterans. We are arm in arm with those veterans who have passed on and those veterans yet to come. We are the link between the past and the future. We march with pride and solemn dignity for purpose done as well as purpose promised. Throughout the country during the 11th hour of this day, bells of peace are sounded, honoring those who gave their lives and the promise of peace. Well, we have found through the years that peace is not a durable commodity, and that every generation needs to strive to achieve it. Here today at this 11th hour, we join all those communities around the world with a bell of peace.
Gotta get over here.
You guys got to pull it tight there.
Pull that way a little bit more, guys.
Pull it tight.
Tight.
We had to get a bigger box. Pick up truck over here. What the hell? Hold your line, right? So that's going to be perfect.
Pull the glue out here. Hang on, glue's not out here. Go ahead, you're good, Go ahead. Up on that side. Glue's got to be out on the bottom. Hey, we got it. At least even.
What a good catch, yeah. What the hell? One more drop. Yeah. Heavy down there. Get it tight. Hey, it's into the end. It's going to earn and you'll pay. I know that.
Now fold this in over. And then I'll tuck it in. There you go. Yeah! We got a star. Hell yeah, we got a star. Hey, y'all. Thanks for coming.